Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. As Mike said, my name is Nick Anderson, and I am a Regional Sports Director of Special Olympics Maryland. I will also be acting as the staff liaison for cheerleading this year. Joining me on the call is Mike Zarnowski, who all of you heard, the Senior Director of Community Sports at Special Olympics Maryland. Anna Albert, who is returning again this year as our cheerleading venue director. And Russell, are you joining us? Russell Lyons, I'm not sure if he's on the phone, but he should be joining us tonight. He is the head rules official this year. Returning this year, I should say. Looks like I may have... No, there we go. Okay, the agenda for tonight's call, we're going to do some administrative stuff first. Then we'll head into the coaches certification aspect. This is not a new rule for Special Olympics Maryland, but something we are actually enforcing for the first time, that all head coaches must be certified. Some of you may have heard of that with some of our other sports, but Mike will cover that when we get to that section. We'll quickly show you all of the forms. Nothing's changed, so we'll just quickly go over those. If anyone has any questions, they can ask that at the end. Then Anna and Russell will take over and cover the event order, rules and reminders, and then some resource materials. Okay, Summer Games related deadlines. First, we have the training registration deadline. For the training registration deadline, you must have all rosters entered in GMS. That's all athletes, partners, coaches, volunteers, anyone participating in your program associated with cheer. Either you enter it yourself or your area's designated GMS person will do that. You'll want to contact your area director if you don't know who that person is or don't know if that's something you should be doing or not. The next one is the team roster and team assessment deadline. Oops, we have a typo there. Sorry about that, folks. It's softball. But yes, the team rosters must be submitted to Anna Albert, actually. Anna, do you want to hop on real quick and fill in any information that might be incorrect here, since this does say softball?
I'm sorry, the team rosters?
Yeah, it just says softball team assessments here by mistake, so there's just a little bit of a typo.
When the teams register for the mandatory May 2nd qualifier, their rosters are set at that time, and there are no changes.
Okay, perfect. Is there a date that you would like those submitted to you by? Because here it does say 4/23. So do you want that April 23rd, or is there a different date? Just to make sure that there's no confusion.
On the qualifier, I believe that their rosters are required to me by the 20th.
Okay, so I will make that change once we're done here, so all the coaches who are registered can have the correct date when the slides are sent out. Okay, moving on, the last date to submit missing forms to headquarters, that's May 4th. All athletes must have medicals to participate. The medicals must be valid through the day of competition, that is June 7th, 2015. All coaches, unified partners, and volunteers must have valid volunteer applications that are valid through the Friday of Summer Games, which again is June 6th, 2015. And as I mentioned earlier, something we are enforcing this year is all head coaches must have a Special Olympics coach certification for their specific sport, the sport being cheerleading. And it must be completed this year, completed prior to this, May 4th deadline. Competition registration. Competition registration is May 18th. Delegation members, team rosters, and their events must be entered in the GMS. Again, make sure you get in contact with your area director to find out who that information needs to be sent to. Make sure you get in contact with them early, much much prior to both the training registration deadline and the competition registration deadline, so they can let you know when they need those things from you by. The last date to update scores is May 25th, and that does not apply to cheerleading. Am I correct?
That's correct. That's only aquatics and athletics.
Okay, qualifying for state competition. All training and registration deadlines and requirements that we spoke about on the previous slide must be met in order for your team to qualify for state competition. Additionally, on May 2nd, 2015 at Urbana High School is the required qualifier. Since this is the only required qualifier for this year, all team members, including athletes, partners, must be present with their team at this event unless there is a specific reason that they cannot be there and you have received given a written exemption to SOMD HQ and that exemption has been accepted. Again, since that is our only required qualifier, all team members must be there unless there is a written exemption. Registration information. As Anna mentioned before, all team rosters are due to her by April 10th. On that, you must include all athletes, unified partners, and coaches participating in your program. And as we said before, all athletes and unified partners must have current medicals. Competition music. Anna, do you want to jump in and cover this one little section? Or I can read it directly off the slide, whichever is easier for you.
Just a quick correction. For regarding the registration information, it's April the 20th, not the 10th. And yes, all athletes and unified partners are required to have medicals, but they must have their medicals with them on site for the qualifier. Regarding your competition music, you'll need to bring 2 CDs with them labeled as your county, your team name, and your division. One you will be utilizing as you will be starting your music at the competition, which is different than in the prior years for the qualifier. And the other one will be turned in at registration to me. And as a reminder, once I accept your music, there are no changes. Back to you, Nick.
Perfect. As everyone can see, we have the pre-competition webinar dates. Cheerleading will be held Tuesday, May 26th at 8 p.m. Again, this slide deck will be sent out, so you'll be able to grab this link out of the slide deck when it is sent out. Feel free to register now, so you don't have to worry about it in May. Mike, I'll go ahead and hand it over to you.
Okay. There's only a handful of slides, so if you can click through for me, that would be great.
Yeah, I can do that.
Great, wonderful, thank you. As Nick alluded to earlier, there's actually been a long-standing policy for at least 25 years or more with Special Olympics that all coaches be certified. Special Olympics Maryland has not been enforcing that for several years for a number of reasons we don't need to go into. But we are now, we have systems that are in place now that can help us more to track it better and to provide information back to coaches in terms of when their time or they need to renew. And in addition, the variety of opportunities for coaches to renew their certification has really exploded in terms of the number of things that we can do. We're not going to go into a whole lot of detail here. We had 5 different webinars earlier in the year. And at the end of last year that went in through this, invites to those went out to all coaches, at least all coaches for whom we had email addresses. We'll include the link to the recorded webinar on this if you need additional information. But in a nutshell, in 2 minutes or less, hopefully we'll make that, we have implemented it so that at this point in time, all head coaches must have a Special Olympics sports certification in order to bring a team to summer games or to their culminating state competition. We started this with basketball with the competition for that a couple weeks ago. For summer game sports, it applies to all the sports, and that the head coach for cheerleading would be the head coach for each cheerleading team. So if you're bringing 3 teams for cheerleading to summer games, or you wish to do so, each of those teams has to have a separate head coach, and each of those coaches must be certified. And the deadline to meet that certification is May 4th. It's valid for 3 years, and later this week we sent an update out to folks a couple months ago that listed all the training classes that we had on record of people attending, as well as the current certification status for everybody. We'll send an update of that. If you believe that something is missing, please let your regional sport director know. There's a link or there's a listing of who has what sport or has what part of the state later. This is just a snapshot of some of the different opportunities. We will send with that list and that update all the different learning opportunities that are currently available. Nick, if you can go to the next slide.
Hey, Mike, let me interrupt you real quick. Russell and Jen are on here now. We're having computer issues where we're at, so we're only on the phone. We don't have the presentation in front of us, just to let everyone know.
Okay, great. Thank you, Russell. So if you already have had a previous certification in cheerleading, and again, it's not for any sport, it's the specific sport that you want to or you need to renew your certification. So if you've had a previous one, in all honesty, we'll take it as far back as Special Olympics has been around if you have that certification. All you need to do to renew your certification for 3 years is take either a general learning opportunity, and we'll have a list on a slide in a second, or a sport-specific one for cheerleading to renew that. And that's the same policy for any of the sports. If you've never had a sports certification or taking a Special Olympics training course for cheerleading, then there's actually 2 components. One is have to complete either coaching Special Olympics athletes or principles of coaching. Those are general things about working with individuals with disabilities in sports, and then a sports-specific session. Then 2 notes here. Currently, we're enforcing this for head coaches. At some point in the future, we will be enforcing it for all coaches because that is actually the Special Olympics policy. It's not that Maryland is doing something new. We're actually just finally enforcing it. So if you have coaches who are not going to be head coaches, it's still a good thing for them to go through and get their certification updated while we're at it. Then the other note there is being rolled out in this year, over the course of this year, a requirement for concussion training for all coaches. It's a safety requirement. It makes total sense. A lot of organizations are doing it. And in Special Olympics case, it's also being driven as a requirement for us to maintain our insurance status. We will be providing to the area directors at an area director meeting on the 18th our systems and our processes, and shortly thereafter, after the 18th, after we've shared it with the area directors, we'll be sending it out to all coaches. As I said, this is rolling out over the course of 2015. If you're in the process of addressing this, it will not adversely affect you from bringing, this alone will not adversely affect you from bringing a team to summer games. We have until the end of the year to get everybody, end of the calendar year to get everybody up to speed on this. So don't let that scare you or worry you. There's time to get that done. And again, we'll share more information on the 18th. Nick, if you can go to the next slide. We have several trainings scheduled right now, a combination of live and webinar or web-based trainings. Here's a sampling of these that are listed here. Again, the full listing and descriptions of all of those will be provided with the list that goes out, the updated list of stuff, the status of learning opportunities and the status of all the different coaches. We are very interested and very willing to provide additional coaching Special Olympics athletes trainings and sport training sessions. The big thing, we've really been pushing to get them out into the field. Have your area director, if this is something you're interested in, have your area director contact your regional sport director and they can see what we can arrange. We do ask that there be at least 5 to 7 participants pretty much guaranteed to hold such a session. And they can be from, if it's a coaching Special Olympics athletes, they can be from across a number of different sports. It doesn't have to all be cheerleading folks for that. And then, Nick, if you can go to the next slide. We offer online training, and these are all self-paced courses offered through ASEP, American Sports Education Program. These are all, again, self-paced. They're, most of them, I can't speak for all of them, but most of them are quite good. There are 3 that are available for cheerleading specifically, and Special Olympics Maryland will subsidize up to $20. That subsidy is provided as a reimbursement after you've successfully completed the course. So information on how to utilize that or to make use of that will be provided again when we send the stuff out later this week. There's also a number of general sessions or general courses there as well. So again, we'll send the link as well to the more in-depth session, and just wanted to have a couple highlights here. And that said, Nick, is it back to you or is it to Anna and Russell?
Hi.
Let's see. And there's your regional sport directors. But what is the...
Anna, you're up.
Okay, Anna, I'm going to make you the presenter. If you can just...
Alrighty. If we can just...
There you go. If you can show your screen.
Actually, Mike, you're going to need to go back to Nick being the presenter because I don't have it up on my screen. I do apologize.
Oh, okay. Let me find Nick again. Okay, Nick, if you can re-show your screen, and I'm going to mute myself.
Thank you. Alrighty, Nick, actually this will be going back to you because this is regarding medical forms and registration for volunteers, or would you like me to continue with this part?
Actually, we included this more for reference. We can just blow right through this.
Alrighty, okay, great.
Yeah, if we can, the slides that are in this deck that you'll get following it probably won't go out until tomorrow. There's images or information on all the medical and volunteer forms and so on down the line. So, Nick, if you can just advance through to the end of this section there.
Great. I will take it from here. Good evening, everyone. Looking forward to another wonderful Summer Games experience. There really have not been any major rule changes. I will briefly speak about the individual slides, but of course we'll have Russell Lyons home in on any questions and clarifications on the rules. First, events offered. Our next slide, please, Nick. They remain the same. You have individual skill competition. You can have traditional team competition in our 4 levels of beginner, intermediate, advanced, or elite. And all of those can be a unified team competition with the exception of course skills. Okay, going into some rules and reminders. As a reminder, beginning last year, we have our general cheerleading rules of competition, which govern our event. And last year, with the addition of the elite division changes, we are following the USASF rules for the special needs competitive division for the elite division only. In the event that those rules or the national governing body rules are in direct conflict, the Special Olympics cheerleading rules will supersede. Athletes may only participate on one squad. There have been a couple of questions that have come by regarding minimum and maximum numbers of squad members. Please refer to your divisions in your rules. And individuals, I'm actually going to read this rule as a reminder and let Russell comment. Last year, this rule was instituted. Individuals that are assisting in placing or moving of an athlete's wheelchair or walker during competition, please make sure that these individuals are registered volunteers with Special Olympics Maryland, meaning they need to have a volunteer application submitted and go through the screening and take the general orientation, etc. And as a reminder, once that athlete is in place, the assistant must stand with their hands at their sides and that they are not getting any verbal or physical cues. Russell, do you have anything that you would like to add to that?
Yeah, we should also, that spotter or additional person should not be in a uniform. They should be able to be clearly identified that they are an additional spotter so that we know to be able to look for them as so that the safety judge is able to watch them. The rest of us can see that they're not, blending in with the rest of the team and joining in on the routine. So.
Thank you. Alrighty, we also instituted allowing to have individuals assigned as a permanent spotter, a permanent assistant for an athlete that must stand by the athlete for safety purposes. Again, this individual has to be, as Russell indicated, dressed in a fashion that it is obvious that they are assistant in that part of the team. They too need to stand with their hands at the sides, and they cannot relay any verbal or physical cues. However, this permanent spotter is there for the safety of the athlete and interventing to protect the athlete from falling or physically hurting themselves. It's quite obvious that that's what the permanent spotter is doing. That will not result in a scoring deduction. And Russell, could you please elaborate on that?
Yeah, so we have athletes that we know that have trouble standing, when they're for long periods of time on their own, or have trouble moving from point to point necessarily on their own. So these are spotters designed to just be able to be there to help. If an athlete tries to jump and they know that they're not as stable or they're falling, or if we have an athlete who's prone to have seizures, that we need to have someone standing by the athlete just in case they fall from a seizure, things like that. So they need to just be standing there. Typically, try to keep their hands at their sides so that they're not blending in with doing motions and all, but not at their sides to the point that they're not going to be able to catch the athlete if they need to intervene.
Thank you. You will see in red, this is an addition to our rules for 2015. In the elite division, it states in the tumbling that dive rolls are allowed. And actually, I have a terrible spelling error there. It is supposed to be no dive rolls are allowed. Moving into the elite division, just a little bit. I'm sorry.
Real quick, is everybody that's going to have a team in the elite division understand what a dive roll is versus a forward roll?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, just as a reminder for the elite division, I think we've definitely sent this message home. The elite division is the only division that will be utilizing the USASF rules, and they must be associated with an all-star gym. We're all quite aware of what an all-star gym is, but just as a clarification, it's a facility that focuses on the health, wellness, gymnastics, and cheerleading. They are training year-round, and they must be committed to the additional practice needed to prepare for competition at this level. Unified divisions, This is something that we really clarified last year, and again, we want to make sure that everybody understands this. If you are forming a unified team, it is important that the number of traditional Special Olympic athletes must be equal to or exceed the number of non-disabled partners. And Russell, I'll let you take that from here.
So that means if you have a team of 10 and you have 5 unified partners and 5 special needs athletes, and you have one special needs athlete that for some reason does not show up on competition day, you must change your routine and drop one of your unified partners to be able to still fall within the guidelines of equal to or exceed. You cannot have more unified partners than you do special needs athletes. If there's any questions, please ask it now.
Great. And as we said earlier in the presentation, teams in all divisions may compete as a unified team, of course, with the exception of skills. Okay. Actually, I'll stop here, and we'll open it to all of the coaches for any general questions that they may have.
Hi, Anna. It's Barbara from Howard County. I was just looking at the courses. Are these through Special Olympics Maryland for the ones that are on now, or is that training with just another cheerleading overseer?
Are you referring to the courses that are online offered by ASEP?
Yes. Is that just through, are they associated with Special Olympics, or is that another?
ASAP is the American Sports Education Program. Okay. It's a nationwide or a worldwide set of courses. Okay. They're online, and we're utilizing them. They host, they have an online version of the Coaching Special Olympics Athletes, but they also have a wealth of resources. I don't own stock in ASEP or in Human Kinetics, which is their parent company, but they have exceptional resources for any sport.
Okay, I think I used them when I coached at the high school level.
Yeah, they're dynamite.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions, coaches?
Come on, guys. I know you got some. Come on.
All right, this is Nicole Zuber from Hartford County. Hi.
Hello, how are you?
Hi.
Good. In the past 2 years, we participated in the Elite Unified, and we had an athlete in a wheelchair. However, we didn't utilize, quote-unquote, spotter. We used one of our unified partners who assisted, with the movement of the wheelchair, but then also, performed the routine as a partner athlete. So I just wanted to make sure that that was still acceptable.
Yes, you can still use them as an actual unified partner, and they can help. That's no problem.
Okay.
If you're going to have them assisting in other elements and helping with something, then they need to be a unified partner. And I know what you're talking about, and yeah, you're fine still doing that.
Okay. So if we do choose to go the route of using a spotter, that won't count as our number 25 of athletes and partners on the floor.
Correct. If you have a permanent spotter or helper on the floor that's registered as volunteer, they do not count against your team members.
Okay. I could have 25 plus 2 or 3 spotters, and that will be okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
That's it.
Now, keep in mind also, so if you have those additional spotters, those are assigned to per person. It's still within our Special Olympics rules that you need to have your other spotters for your stunting, your outside spotters. So
Right.
looking up to 30-plus people on the floor, so just keep that in mind. You know the size of the floor and everything. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Well, it doesn't sound like there are any additional questions. We are looking forward to seeing everyone on May 2nd at the qualifier. On your screen, you just see a few resources that are available to you. The MyOSM website, calendars and various coaching materials can be found there, and the ASEP courses that we have spoke about. I thank everyone for being on the call this evening, and if you have no other questions of Russell and I turn it back over to Mike Sarnowski and Nick Anderson.
I do not have anything else. I just want to say thank you to everyone for attending today's webinar, and everything that we covered today, everything in the slide deck, will be available to you on the follow-up email.
Okay.
Mike, do you have anything else?
No, just again, thank you. We're looking forward to seeing you throughout the season. Please do find as many competition opportunities above and beyond the required qualifier as you can. And for anybody who's celebrating a holiday later this week, we hope you have a happy and healthy holiday and enjoyable with family and friends. Thanks much.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Bye, guys.